U.S. President Donald Trump is warning anti-racism protesters against vandalizing monuments. Protesters yesterday tried to tear down a statue of former U.S. President Andrew Jackson at Lafayette Square, which is across from the White House. Just moments ago, Trump made it clear he wants protesters to face stiff prison time and arrests.
We stopped an attack on a great monument, the monument of Andrew Jackson in Lafayette Park. And I just want to thank law enforcement. They did a great job. We were working very closely with the White House Secret Service and some of our executives. It was really, they did a great job. They stopped it cold. Numerous people are in jail and going to jail today. People are already there, but we're looking at long-term sentences under the Act. We have a very specific Monuments Act, and we are looking at long-term jail sentences for these vandals and these hoodlums and these anarchists and agitators, and call them whatever you want. Some people don't like that language, but that's what they are. They're bad people. They don't love our country, and they're not taking down our monuments. I just want to make that clear.
Meanwhile, the U.S. is extending its ban on issuing green cards until the end of the year. The existing ban has been expanded to include the H-1B, as in Bravo visa, along with other categories, under which thousands of Canadian workers are allowed to live and work in the U.S. CBC senior Washington editor Lindsay Duncombe is on this story. And this executive order, Lindsay, just walk me through the details of it and who will be affected.
Well, it affects a number of people who might be seeking new visas under a variety of programs. You mentioned the H-1B visas, Suhana. That is relied upon heavily by Silicon Valley. There are engineers and people involved in technology that are working in the States on that visa, many of them Canadian. Over the past couple of years, it's about 4,000 Canadians that have these H-1B visas. And in addition to that, there are the J visas, which are visas used for internships, for teachers, for cultural exchanges. Au pairs will be affected by this proclamation. And there's also language here about intercompany transfers, that those won't be allowed. Those are L visas. It's not clear right now if that would affect Canadian companies doing those kinds of transfers because of the trade agreements that are in place. There is uncertainty here about how this will affect different people. It is for new visas, not for existing visas, but certainly when it comes to renewals and to travel, this is creating uncertainty, and it's also creating accusations of politics here as well, because what we're seeing right now is Donald Trump going to the border in Arizona. He's got a hard-line border security immigration message. As his polls are sinking, he's going back to that playbook from 2016 on the hard-line immigration message, and this visa proclamation, these restrictions, appears to be part of that.
And what's the reaction there, Lindsay?
Well, it's interesting because certainly there are people who support the president's position on immigration that have wanted this, and they are pleased by it. There are other businesses, though, that say this is not what they need right now, that this will have the opposite effect, that they need immigrant workers in order to be able to facilitate a recovery from the economic crisis as a result of the coronavirus. One of the voices speaking out against this proclamation comes from the CEO of Apple, Tim Cook. He tweeted, "Like Apple, this nation of immigrants has always found strength in our diversity and hope in the enduring promise of the American dream. There is no new prosperity without both." He writes that he is deeply disappointed by the proclamation. And while this might be disappointing and confusing for Canadians who want to work in the U.S., there is a flip side for Canadian businesses, Suhana. We're seeing Shopify, which is a Canadian company, going on Twitter today saying to people around the world, engineers, tech workers, if they fall into that H-1B category and they want a place to work while this is going on, to consider Canada, something that has been an effect of the American hardline on visas has been brain gain for Canadian companies, so some trying to take advantage of this latest clampdown from the United States.
We'll talk again. Thanks for that, Lindsay. CBC's Lindsay Duncombe in Washington.